Did you know that there are over 500 different species of aloe plant? Now, the aloe that most of us know is this aloe vera plant. I'll put the scientific name of it here. And this is the one that is most well known for the medicinal properties, and millions of people have this plant in their home. Now, in addition to the wonderful medicinal properties that this plant has to offer, it also makes a terrific houseplant. It's a very hardy succulent, which is very adaptable in its natural habitat, which makes it a wonderful houseplant that requires very minimum care. So in this episode of my Houseplant Care 101 series, I'm going to be going over how to care for your aloe plant. I've included timestamps below, but I'm going to be covering watering, lighting, feeding, repotting, and propagation of this plant. I currently only have 2 types of aloe, but after researching for this episode, I definitely have a few added to my wish list. So this is the main medicinal one that most of us have in our homes. This is the Aloe barbadensis Miller. Wonderful, wonderful plant. And then the other one that I have here is another type of aloe. When I went plant shopping and saw this aloe, I had to get it. Now this one doesn't have the medicinal properties that this one does. Out of the 500 species of aloe, only a couple of them actually have medicinal properties. So it's very good to make sure you do your research and stick with the one if you're looking for medicinal properties in your aloe vera. Make sure that it says on there that it has those properties, because like I said, only a couple of them out of 500 do. So I'm going to jump right into it. So first up is watering. Now, aloe vera is a succulent. It's used to very dry climates, rocky terrain, and it doesn't require much water. It's really a low maintenance, low care plant. I'd say the number one way that you could probably kill your aloe vera is by leaving it in moist soil, causing root rot, which would then kill your plant. Now, as I always say, you can tell how drought tolerant a plant is based on the thickness of the leaves. So this plant has extremely thick leaves to retain water. Now, if you're unsure, I would say just water when the soil is dried out, same as other cacti and succulents. If you're still not sure, if the plant is puckering and it's been a long time since you've watered it and the soil's completely dry, that's usually an indicator that the plant is pretty thirsty. So I would say just make sure you have a well-draining soil, which I'll get into more later. They're actually a pretty fast growing succulent. As you can see here, this plant is completely full. I just purchased this one from a big box shop because I've used so much of my other aloe. I decided to go ahead and get a second one. And I'll actually be propagating this one today because, as you can see, it has a lot of pups in there. But as far as watering, in the summer they do enjoy a good drink once they've dried out because they are pretty fast growing. In the wintertime, they do tend to go dormant and not as likely to put out much new growth. They like warm weather, so once it cools off, they tend to not put out new growth. And during the winter months, I would be very conservative with how much watering you do. So maybe once a month, just make sure the soil is very dry in between waterings. So as you can see with this plant, they have very dark leaves. If you started to see where the leaves were turning yellow or maybe getting brown spots, that would be a good indicator of root rot. So watering's done. I'm going to jump into lighting. Now, this is a succulent. It's used to very bright conditions, so I would say make sure to give this plant bright indirect light. You can try some direct sunlight during the day. The only thing I would say is this plant, depending on the species of plant, it can be prone to sunburn. So if you have it in direct light and you notice that it has some browning and the leaves are getting a bit sunburnt, you can just kind of move it back from having so much direct light. Now, a lot of people will keep these plants outdoors in the summertime, and that's great. They love it outdoors. It's nice and hot, especially here in the South right now. Good humidity. I would just recommend not putting it immediately into direct sunlight. I would say put it on your porch, maybe where it gets a little bit of light, and then gradually introduce it to more sunlight so it has time to acclimate to that bright sun and the nice warm temperature. Now, this plant, I keep it in direct sunlight and it loves it, but it does have a lot thicker, sturdier, resilient type of leaves than this type of aloe vera, the one that has the medicinal properties. So I would say depending on the species of aloe vera, you can kind of test and see, because I think some are more tolerant to sunlight than maybe other varieties and other species. Now, another cool thing to mention with aloe when it comes to lighting conditions is this plant will actually let you know if it's not getting enough light. So the leaves of this plant should be thick and sturdy. That's what we have going on here. This is a thick, sturdy plant. If it's not getting enough light, the leaves will become bendy and break easily. And if you notice that on your aloe vera, then it's probably not getting enough light. And if you just go ahead and put it into the light, it will become more sturdy and the leaves will become thicker. Also, if you notice it's not putting out any new growth and you have it in a lower light area, I mean, this plant will survive, it just won't thrive in lower light conditions. All right, so now on to fertilizing. And I say that with a smile on my face because fertilizing can be kind of overwhelming as a plant parent. And the nice thing about aloe is that in its natural habitat, it's used to a nutrient poor soil. So we don't really have to worry about fertilizing when it comes to aloe. I would say if you'd want to fertilize it, you know, it will encourage growth. I would say to fertilize it at the beginning of the growing season, maybe just one time at half strength if you're using a houseplant fertilizer or a cacti and succulent fertilizer. I mean, you probably won't harm the plant if you fertilize it more. And again, we all have different experiences with these plants, so leave in the comments what your experience has been. But based on my research and what I've experienced with these plants, you really don't have to worry about fertilizing them as often as some of these other types of plants, which is really nice as it's one less thing to have to worry about as a plant parent. So now let's talk about repotting, and this will cover the type of soil to use, how to propagate, and all of that. I'm actually going to repot this one that I got. Now quickly, let's touch on pests before I repot. Now these plants are actually pretty susceptible to pests. So I've seen them with mealybugs, I've seen them with scale, I've seen them with spider mites. So I'd recommend when you bring them home from the store to definitely give them a good rinse, whether you use insecticidal soap, maybe give it a spray with some insecticidal soap and wash it off. That's my kind of preventative of choice really for some of these bugs. And I also, you know, some people like to use neem. If nothing else, just give it a good rinse off, maybe wipe down the leaves a little bit, just to make sure you don't spread it to your other plants in case this plant does have any kind of pests, and just give it a good look down. Now the reason I chose this one at the store is it does have a lot of pups on it because I use aloe all the time at home and I just would love to have more plants. So as I'm repotting, I like to put something down to catch the soil. I recently got these little trays from IKEA. I did a video shopping at IKEA. I found these trays and they are great for lots of different stuff. So it's very important to use the right kind of soil for this plant because it is a succulent and it likes a well-draining soil. So I recommend using either a cactus and succulent soil or an aloe vera specific soil. You can also make your own soil. If you have a potting mix, you can mix in a lot of perlite or pumice or orchid bark to replicate a cactus soil. Now today I'm using my favorite brand of soil. This is from rePotme.com, and I'm obsessed with all of their different soils. Now rePotme.com is a favorite in the plant community because they will make customized soils based on the type of plant that you have. So on their website they have a section for houseplant soils, and they have one specifically for aloe vera, which is incredible. They have them for philodendrons and monstera and succulents, pothos, the list goes on and on. I have been incredibly impressed with all of the different soils that I've used from them, and I've been seeing people leave in the comments that they're really liking the soil from them ordering. And since they're partnering with me on my Houseplant Care 101 series, they're offering 10% off for all Plant Life with Ashley and Nita viewers, which is great. So with code Ashley, you can get 10% off any soil on their website. I've included the link in my description below, and again, the code is Ashley. So whatever type of soil you use, you just want to make sure that there's a lot of different substrates in there to make sure it is a well-draining soil for this plant. In addition to having the right soil, it's also really important to have the correct planter. Now, aloe vera like to grow with their roots kind of spreading outwards. They tend to stay somewhat shallow and they don't go really deep into the pot. So I would advise against a planter that's really deep. I would say to go with one that's a little bit wider. And a good rule of thumb for me, and I always say, is to go 1 to 2 inches more. This plant doesn't want a lot of excess soil because then it just increases the chances of root rot, because the roots aren't going to be able to absorb all that excess moisture and all of that extra soil. So the two options I have here, this one is my all-time favorite planter. You guys have heard me talk about it a million times. It's a slotted orchid pot from rePotme.com. They're plastic, so they're easy to reuse. They're easy when you're repotting to just kind of squeeze it and take the plant out, versus a terracotta that can be very difficult when it comes to repotting time. And it has so much drainage all around the bottom, all around the sides, which is great to promote airflow. It helps prevent too much moisture in the soil. I love that these are somewhat clear, like you have the actual clear ones. I've run out of those. But they're great because I can see how much moisture is in the planter, because I'll see the moisture around the outside of the pot and I'll know not to water it until that all goes away. And I can also keep an eye on the root system. So that way I know kind of what's going on with the plant without having to really disturb it too much by pulling the plant out. I just know just from looking at the pot. And as you all know, I love to use cover pots. So I would probably put this one in, like, here's an example. I would say take this, I might put it in something like that and have the plant in there. Use this as a cover basket or a cover pot. And I like that because I like to kind of move my planters around based off of what I'm decorating with at the time. So these are fabulous. My #1 choice. They're on the website. I've included links to all of the different products from rePotme that I love. I have my favorites. And then this is a basic terracotta planter, which is also a wonderful option for any cacti and succulents because it does wick away moisture and helps prevent root rot or too much moisture in the soil. I find these tend to dry my plants out a little too much because I am an underwaterer, but if you tend to be watering your plants all the time, terracotta is a wonderful option. So let's go ahead and repot this. So in addition to talking about repotting it, I'm also going to be, like I said, propagating. And the easiest way to propagate with aloe vera is by propagating the pups. As I said, aloe vera is a pretty fast growing succulent, especially in the summer months and then the growing season. So you'll see your plant will start to put off these kind of offshoots and these pups. And that's the best way to make new aloe vera plants. You can see here that the roots are looking pretty good. It's jam-packed in there, which is a good sign. Aloe vera, they like a little bit of their roots kind of being compact, as that does help prevent overwatering. So here are the pups, and then this is the mother plant, and it has quite a few offshoots. It has offshoots here and here and here. So the best thing to do is just kind of cut them in between. One of the things to keep in mind as you're cutting your pups off of your mother plant is to cut it in such a way that some of the roots stay attached to the pup. It will make it a lot easier if it already has a really nice established root system. This one I cut off has hardly any roots attached to it, so I'm not sure that one's going to make it, but I'll give it a go. And I've decided to, that one fell off, I'm going to keep that. I'm going to keep these on here. Do I want to? No, I'm gonna go ahead and propagate all of them. First off, I'm doing the babies, so hi honey, you don't want any, are you gonna help me repot? Oh god. How'd you get? Go on. How'd you get? Yeah. Oh. Wait. Okay. This soil is so nice. There's the first one with the little puppers. Looks great. Okay. Okay, so that's basically it. I'm not going to fertilize either of these plants. I'm going to give them some water, kind of let them settle into their planters, and then that's done. So it was very, very straightforward and easy. I mean, these are such fabulous plants. They make great houseplants, right? They don't need much of anything, and they have such wonderful medicinal properties that they're really, really so handy to have. So that's it, very high level, how to care for your aloe vera. Please leave in the comments if you have any tips or suggestions. That's always appreciated by everyone here in our plant community here on Plant Life with Ashley and Anita. Again, huge thank you to rePotme.com for partnering with me on my Houseplant Care 101 series. Again, rePotme.com is offering 10% off all houseplant soils for Plant Life with Ashley and Anita viewers. Just use code Ashley. I've included a link in the description below to take you right to their website and also some of my favorite products that they offer. Now, if you'd like to see future plant care and plant shopping videos show up in your newsfeed, make sure to subscribe. And we also have a wonderful plant community on Instagram that we would love for you to be part of. All right, well, I hope you have a fabulous rest of the day. You'll definitely be seeing me soon. Bye.